Once again, it's the Weekend Overrated. It's your host, Don Dollar. And next, we are discussing once you've confirmed that change isn't an option with somebody that you love, how do you necessarily navigate that? For me, um, there are a good handful of people, mainly family, few friends, that change is just not something that me being realistic is going to take place. The change is just not going to happen. Um, as unfortunate as it is, they're finished products. Like they are what they are. Change would be, you know, something that would be very rare if it were to occur. But at this particular, time, that's just not something that it's in the foreseeable future. And navigating that because yeah, you love the individual, but there's a few different equations that you have to solve within that love. So one of the things are you have to see how does the lack of change affect your ability to maintain a relationship with the individual. Is this one of those things where you kind of just accept it for what it is and keep it pushing? Is it one of those things where it just affects your ability to have any type of a close relationship with them? Is it one of those things where you kind of have to love them from afar, create that distance? um, and then that'll pretty much guide you to how to decide on what you're going to do for yourself. Especially like I said, we're at the point of confirming that change is just not an option, and the change isn't necessarily from a place of wanting to control someone. It is more so understanding what healthy habits look like, understanding what growth looks like, and how those things can affect your life in different ways, from a positive standpoint. So for me, one of the individuals I'll say is my dad. So I'd never asked my dad to change any particular thing about himself, but I understand who my dad is. And although, our relationship was not as good, then it was kind of good, then it was really bad, then it was okay, then it was just regular. And then in the last, I would say 3 to 4 years, it's progressed to, us spending just quality time, just bonding, father and son. And even within that, there are some things that I would like, to evolve slash change. But I understand that I'm dealing with a finished product, unfortunately, because you don't want to be a finished product while you still have breath in your body. You always want to be or have the ability to evolve and, and become a better version of yourself. But for me, I think what allows me to navigate that particular space is I understand who my dad is, right? And I understand who my dad isn't. So my expectations go hand in hand with my understanding. Like I don't expect certain things of my dad, and I understand. Well, those things come from my understanding. Like I understand who he is and who he isn't. So I wouldn't allow myself to even be in a headspace to think that okay, this is a good idea, or he'll do this, or he'll follow through on this. And it's not. It sounds worse than what it is. Um, but I think if you allow love to prevail over all of the factors that may go into how you're going to navigate, a relationship with somebody that you love who, again, change is confirmed as not being an option. But if you still, want some version of a relationship with them, you have to see what your capacity is. As that's what I did. And I'm not one to sulk on things. I'm not one to cry over spilled milk. I think for me, I appreciate the relationship that me and my dad have now, because a complete is a complete opposite of what I had growing up. And being able to learn about him, learn about his past, learn about his upbringing, learn about his earlier years, teenage, 20s, 30s, but that's little. And learning, him transitioning, from Jamaica to the States, and even learning how he met my mom, and that whole ordeal. And you know, through our relationship, especially at the rocky points, there were times where I elected not to navigate. There were times where I just said, you know what, I'm good. Like, it is what it is. I'm not chasing nobody. I'm not coddling anyone. I'm not pacifying any like ridiculous behavior. And, whenever someone wants to walk through that door, it will remain open. That opportunity for the relationship will remain there, but I'm not forcing anything. And I think naturally, he found his way to the door, and he walked through it, and our relationship has grown to places that I didn't see it going, in a positive way. But even within that, like I said, no one's perfect. So for me, I can see where, as a dad, I can see where my dad has deficiencies. I can see where he's, I guess you could say, weak at as a dad. And for me, I love him, and I know that, at this particular point in his life, like, he's not gonna be like, if I had to make a list of things that um, I would prefer him to grow or evolve in, he's not checking off none of those things. Like, it is what it is at this point. So I think for me, navigating it, I just tell him my expectations. I don't like put myself in a headspace where I can say, okay, I'm gonna ask my dad A, B, and C, knowing that that's not in his wheelhouse. I'll just forego it, and it's no, love loss or anything like that. I think I'm just to the point of just appreciating him for who he is. They say you have to accept people for their flaws and all, which, in my opinion, you don't have to accept people with their flaws. Like, you can deny people and say, okay, stay over there, do what you want to do. And it's your choice, if you want to, you know, rekindle or continue whatever relationship it is, but you have to do it at your capacity, especially if you're the one that's open and willing, to do whatever's need to be done to, maintain a healthy relationship. So I think for me, like I said, I just, my understanding and my expectation, I don't I don't let one overstep the other. I keep them nice and even. And I think more than anything, it's a good way for me to learn how to continue to evolve as a parent as well, and how to um, not get into a space where I'm just stuck in my ways, or I'm a finished product, or if there's something that one of my kids, feels as though it's an issue as it pertains to our relationship, that they just have to, have their understanding and expectation, set to a certain level. So it allows me to, constantly want to, have that door open to grow, and whatever my weaknesses and deficiencies will be as a parent. Because again, nobody's perfect. So yeah, that's it's an interesting topic because most people, they'll just say to hell with it. They won't necessarily waste their time on even trying to, put in the effort. But I think for me, sometimes you just look at, the overall picture. And when I look at my dad, I'm like, yeah, by definition, you weren't the best dad, but you're still my dad, right? You were half of the reason that I exist, right? Without you, me as I am now would not exist. So for that, I'm grateful and I'm appreciative, and I love you because damn it, I like living and I like life and I like my life. And a lot of understanding I feel like is able to be gained now with me being a man and me being a dad. With me and my dad, like we're able to connect on a certain level. And these are all things that I factor in through my navigation. Again, just to reiterate, the topic of, once you confirm that somebody that you love, that change is just not an option. You're like, how do you navigate it? You navigate it by, putting in all of the different factors of the relationship, and then whatever you come out with, hopefully it's, the ability to, still navigate the relationship as, I've been able to do. But if not, being okay with loving somebody from afar. There, everybody, my relationship and my situation with my dad, that's not a broad overview of, how it is with everybody. There are some people I love from countries away, family and friends. Um, and again, that's based on the equation. When I factor everything in, when I start to look at, instances, things that happen, conversations, you know, over a period of time, that's how those decisions are generally, formulated. So yeah, as it pertains to you evaluating, your circle, your family, those individuals. A lot of times it's our parents, where they're just stuck in their ways, right? But you love them. So some people ignore the need to have parameters around the relationship. Sometimes they just let the parents walk all over them. Sometimes they let them take advantage of them. But I think that it's important to, you know, again, have your expectation and your understanding neck and neck, and then use that as a learning tool for you if you're a parent or one day will become one. Because when you know better, you're supposed to do better, and that's how we grow. We learn from yesterday, we apply it today, so that we can be better tomorrow. So, weekend's overrated. Appreciate you guys tapping in with me. It's your host again, Don Dollar. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. We're trying to grow the channel, man. Help us out.